that willingness to, one, go into the dark, sit there, not judge, and really connect to what it's like to unconditionally love a part of you, which means if you never change, I love you exactly the way you are. It's not conditional love, it's unconditional love. So what does that take? And then when you get there and all these little layers, you kind of go, oh, I'm home. It's like 1, 2, 3. Like, how can you penetrate a woman in all these ways? Well, you've got to get in there.
I love that you just said all that.
But it was the fear of rejection, because here was the deal. My worth was based on you approving of me.
Yeah.
My safety was based on you approving of me. My everything was based on you approving of me.
Yeah.
So I was unwilling to look at anything where I might be a little imperfect, because that was the beginning of the end. And now, oh, thank God, it's totally the opposite. I love my dorky. I love all these parts of me that I'm like, here it is, the good, the bad, the ugly, take it. That was my first interview. He asked to interview me for the Double Your Dating series.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he said, Allana really tells us that we're not looking in the right place. We're not looking for the quality, we're looking for the quantity. And how do you do that? How do you decipher? And it's not from here. It's from heart, it's from your pelvis, it's from your body. And so what I teach is more embodiment. And that, to me, is the divine connection within yourself right here, right now.
So I'm in Amsterdam, and I'm wandering around, and I just want you guys to see this city. It's absolutely beautiful. The part I'm in is gorgeous. Matter of fact, most of the city is gorgeous. I was here before, only in winter, in the middle of winter, and I didn't realize how beautiful it was with all the snow and the ice on the ground. So I'm glad to have come back at this time of year in the fall. I definitely got to get out here in the spring. But what this video is about, it's perfect because I'm in a very romantic, beautiful place, and I want to introduce Allana Pratt. I did a podcast with her recently, and it was an awesome podcast. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. Me and her see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, and she's a dating coach. She's a relationship coach. She specializes in working primarily with men, and she does a phenomenal job of it, and I think you'll get a lot out of this interview. And what better place to introduce Allana than in such a beautiful romantic city as here in Amsterdam. And I'm sure she'll appreciate it. And with that said, make sure you take a lot of notes, get your notepad out. This is a great interview. And as always, what would you do if you were not afraid? I'll see you in the next video.
Welcome to the Fearless Podcast, and I'm here today with Allana Pratt.
Allana Banana.
Allana Banana. Allana, is Allana or
Allana?
I've been
Allana.
calling you Allana.
I know, but I just thought I'd...
it's like my last name. Everybody gets it wrong all the time, and I never correct them.
Why? You don't care?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. It's like, there's so many pronunciations of my last name depending on the people I meet who have it, that I've kind of said there's 50 ways to say it. So
it can just be exotic. It can
That's
sound
right.
exotic.
I've been thinking about using the exotic version because the version I use is Bayesian, but the French way is Béjon.
Well, that's how I did in your video. I'm like, he's so sexy, Béjon.
That settles it. I'm gonna start using that from now on.
And you can say Allana if you'd like. It's more,
Allana.
It's more sophisticated, I suppose, but it's Allana Banana.
Allana Banana.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember what's the banana for?
Just to help you rhyme, so you know which way it is.
I've heard that before. Associate everybody's name with an animal is what I heard, and then you can remember their name easier. Like if his name is John, he's John, and picture him as Jaguar. John the Jaguar.
Allana the banana. I don't know. It's quite
go.
phallic, but anyways.
I see that. Yeah. Well, it's not Allana the cucumber, so that's
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Allana is an intimacy expert, and she works primarily with men. But you work with men and women, right?
I do. I work with both. Yeah.
Okay. And she is expert on intimacy, expert in the area of dating and connecting, and we're going to spend the next hour, 45 minutes with her, getting to know what she does a little bit better. And can you, one of the things that I like about you, and I was just talking to you about this off camera, is there's a lot of men's dating experts out there right now. I've interviewed a bunch of them, I know a lot of them, but a lot of them come from the perspective of technique, and even some of them say natural game, like how do we become more natural and meet women in a more natural way. But very few come from this perspective of really getting in touch with that what you call the divine feminine, divine masculine, that spiritual part of yourself that wants to come into union with another human being for spiritual exploration.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to put it?
That's lovely. Yeah,
Thank
absolutely. I have some clients recently that were like, okay, well, I just want to go in there and meet women. I'm like, well, are you even aware of who she is? Have you checked in to see if there's even a connection? Can you feel her? They're like, no, woman, go do the line. I'm like, no, babe, that's good. Maybe you'll get the phone number. Did you get the date? No. I go, okay. And is that a pattern? Yes? Okay. Would you please at least be open to there's another way to have the quality of relationship you want? And actually, when I first started interviewing guys, interviewing about guys, it was from Eben Pagan, David D'Angelo, right? And
did you get interviewed by him?
That was my first interview. He asked to interview me for the Double Your Dating series.
Yeah, I remember that many years ago.
And he said, Allana really tells us that we're not looking in the right place. We're not looking for the quality, we're looking for the quantity. And how do you do that? How do you decipher? And it's not from here. It's from heart, it's from your pelvis, it's from your body. And so what I teach is more embodiment. And that, to me, is the divine connection within yourself right here, right now. And so when you can have that, then you can start to have that with your woman on the outside. But most men can't go in here because the first thing they hit is a wounded heart from when they were emasculated. And they're quite often disconnected from their pelvis, so it's like this speed bump. So this spinning mind and cock walking around, which is, I'm sorry, so not sexy. But if they're all hearts, then they're like the limp rag, shaking my hand, you're like a wet fish. That's not attractive either. It's like 1, 2, 3. Like, how can you penetrate a woman in all of these ways? Well, you've got to get in there.
I love what you just said, all that. That's right in alignment with the way we teach and think.
High five.
So I say this stuff all the time, but it's awesome that they hear it from a woman. Mm-hmm. And I typically don't say it as much on the YouTube videos as I say it in classes.
In class, yeah.
And embodiment is everything. And this is not just what I'm talking about. Even making money, embodiment is everything.
Totally, totally. So just a little background about me, small town Canadian girl. Hopped on Uncle Phil's 18-wheeler semi when I was 19. Came to LA to be a dancer because I was a dancer since I was 5. And I was good enough, I was courageous enough, but I didn't have the damn visa. Mm-hmm. So I moved over to Japan and I danced there. And then I moved to New York and finished my degree at Columbia. Met my first husband over in Japan, actually. Married him in New York. Got to LA, didn't work out. Second husband came around just when my mom was dying. Lost my mom from a very weak place, just wanted a relationship to replace her. And wanted a child to replace the relationship. Not a very enlightened thing. So, not that I used him like that, in a mean way, but I just wasn't choosing from my highest self, my deepest heart.
The question I would have is, were you even conscious of that?
No, I was just surviving.
I think that's most people. We make all these decisions to get married, be with somebody, not from a conscious place.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So in my journey, the first husband I married because I was honestly scared. I don't think I was conscious of it at the time. Yeah. But tall, dark, and handsome multimillionaire, yeah, that'll do. Right? And here I was, the arm candy, and I thought this was all fun.
It's the princess, being married to the
totally,
prince,
until I started hiding in the closet to meditate because he thought that was so weird.
Yeah.
I just couldn't be myself. So anyways, fast forward to this work I do with embodiment with men and women, that's what I had to do first.
Yeah.
I was chin up, terrified, spinning, how can I be safe? Because my dad, while he's dry now, was alcoholic, drug abusing, punched holes through the wall. You just had to be on your guard the whole time. You had to be 3 steps ahead to be safe growing up. So I never was just relaxed. I was always 3 steps ahead.
Yeah, we have similar stories.
Do we?
Yeah. I think I have the male version of your story.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah, alcoholic, bipolar mother, abusive sociopathic stepfather. First father, he was more mentally abusive, and supposedly the real father was very physically abusive when I was little, but I never saw any of it because my mom took me away.
Oh.
And when I finally met him, he's a loving guy now. He dropped it all, whatever it was. I've heard the stories. He dropped it all.
Wow, that's wonderful.
So,
yes, people can change, but we can't change them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to choose.
But that piece you just said is so powerful that you're constantly running up here, waiting for the hammer to drop out here. When am I going to need to defend myself?
Right.
Who's going to attack me next?
And thus you create it.
Yeah.
Because you're looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the only door you've opened, the only reality you have.
Yeah.
And that was totally me. And so I would use my sexuality, I would use my personality, I would use my brains, I would use whatever I could do to be safe. That was the goal. Anything to be safe. And when I started to find my gifts, those were these little pockets of time when I got out of my head and I was in the zone, right? It was like interviewing, being interviewed, coaching, dancing, sex. Like I had these little pockets that I could do it in. But then as soon as I left one of those moments, I'd be like, okay, but I wouldn't say it out loud, but that's what would be going on in my head. And so I wanted to find, how could I be congruent? How could I be home all the time?
This is beautifully said, because I've had the same experience and I know, and this is something we used to talk about. I know we both worked with Carl Wolf for a while.
Yeah.
And
hi, Carl, if you're watching.
he's actually starting to teach again, by the way. He's
Has
out
he?
there, yeah, just recently. But I would go through life with kind of the same thing. I would notice that some celebrities even could get on stage and they drop in and they're just completely present.
Magic.
Get off stage, shrink right back down.
Totally.
Like, I don't know about Johnny Depp, but I hear he won't even watch his own movies. He doesn't want to see himself. He won't watch his own movies. Yeah, when he's off stage, he shrinks. But on stage, he becomes these amazing characters.
That's funny, because when I was first, I did, before I called myself an intimacy expert, I called myself the sexy mom expert. When I was trying to figure out what the fuck to do with myself on the planet. Because before I'd been a dancer, a model, and a real estate investor. I didn't need to worry about money. I always had plenty of it, and I just played around the world. And then all of a sudden, here I am, a single motherless mom with an infant, lost the house. I need to figure out like a job. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't even know how to balance a checkbook.
Break down the breakthrough, yeah.
Totally, yeah. On my knees, for sure. And so I'm like, so how does one do a job? What do you do? And what do you call yourself? And I was so ashamed. I didn't want anyone to know that I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because I looked so successful. Because they had money and all the rest of it, but I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, I'll be the sexy mom expert. When mama's happy, everybody's happy. Because that's really what I needed. I wanted to be happy again. But in so doing, I was on Lisa Given's radio show for a good year, maybe two, or it was a period of time. Had the blessing of coaching her through Dancing with the Stars. But it took me a year till I could listen to the tapes. I was just terrified to be vulnerable, face myself, be in the fire, sit there and just, can I love this part of me too? Because before, I had made it mean that part of me was what got the abuse, that there was something wrong with me, and if I could do it right, then I would be safe and I wouldn't be abused. So I didn't want to go anywhere near what was wrong with me, because that was very painful.
Yeah, the shadow.
Totally.
Yeah.
And as I began to learn to face the shadow, sit in the muck, I began to transform. And now I'm the space for that with non-judgment for others, but only because I was willing to go through all those spaces myself.
Speaking of vulnerability, we'll come back to that, but when you went to go look at those tapes, it was a very vulnerable moment, right? To see them for the first time.
Yeah.
And how did you feel seeing yourself?
Well, it was actually audio because it was a radio show, but I was like, that was pretty good, actually.
I was wondering, yeah.
Yeah, I was
in
very...
In the end, you're like, why was I afraid of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was the fear of rejection, because here was the deal. My worth was based on you approving of me.
Yeah.
My safety was based on you approving of me. My everything was based on you approving of me.
Yeah.
So I was unwilling to look at anything where I might be a little imperfect, because that was the beginning of the end. And now, thank God, it's totally the opposite. I love my dorky. I love all these parts of me that I'm like, here it is, the good, the bad, the ugly, take it. And to this kind of there's all these different Allanas, and I'm like, oh, you're okay, honey, it's fine. Or taking the time to go, you have every right to be scared, and I'm not going anywhere. And I've got your back. And let's just breathe. And I love you so much that if you're scared forever, I will stay in the darkness with you forever. Unconditional love of every part of me. And it's taken a while to get to every part, and I'm sure I'll reveal new parts soon. But that willingness to, one, go into the dark, sit there, not judge, and really connect to what it's like to unconditionally love a part of you, which means if you never change, I love you exactly the way you are. It's not conditional love, it's unconditional love. So what does that take? And then when you get there and all these little layers, you kind of go, oh, I'm home. And those have been my direct experiences with the divine, which I know who I am beyond the shadow of a doubt. Like the truth of who I am, not like a thought.
Yeah. As you say all that, I'm just listening and I'm thinking about the dark night of the soul. and how you're going through these things. In a sense, you're going through your dark night. You're going through that part of you, and you're waking up to that idea. It sounds to me like that all these parts of yourself that you've rejected, that you hated, the worst parts are actually the parts you love the most in the end. They're, in a sense, they're self-love repressed.
Yeah.
And labeled in a bad way. Like,
yeah.
I'm not supposed to like this part of myself. But
right.
if you let it back in, it's going to feel good again.
Yeah.
Not at first.
Not at first.
No.
Not at first.
At first you'd swear it's going to kill you.
Yeah, and I've had many dark nights of the soul.
Yeah.
There's been many parts of myself that I needed to grow in courage and compassion in order to meet and integrate again. And what I notice now is just through entrainment. Just like I had a male client come to town over the weekend. We did an intensive together. And there was a lot of parts he didn't love about himself. And just being in the space of one who won't judge and one that sees your grandeur just as much in the scared part of you as the bold part of you. Like it's equal.
Yeah.
Like not one chakra is better than another chakra. Like it's all good, right? Every part of you is good. Let's bring everybody to the party. He got back in his body again. And we were doing all these different like delicious exercises. And one of them I said, let's just go for a walk. And I said, have you made love to the earth as you walk? Let's just do that. And he's like, whoa, didn't know that was possible. Totally new reality. And I'm like, let the beauty of nature in, let it touch you. And he's like moved to tears. Like there's so much available, literally making love to us 24/7 by the whole universe that we don't let in when we're living from here up.
Yeah, well, and if your heart's closed, you can't. Yeah.
Totally.
And it's the same as like I run into some guys, and as I'm getting more and more of these today, that are even grounded, like they're in their hips, they're solid, but they won't open their hearts.
Yeah.
And in a sense, they can get a lot done. They're powerful people.
Sure.
But there's no emotion.
And as a woman, their sexuality isn't reverent.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't sacred. It's hot. Okay, he can take us and claim us, but I want to be fucked not just to the wall. I'd like to be fucked to God, please. So we need some reverence in here. We need some sacredness. And when they can go boom, 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 oh, it makes a woman's knees weak, it makes her heart open, makes her soul just feel home.
Well, they need that animalistic, instinctual nature
yes.
and the spiritual nature mixed together.
Yes.
And like you said earlier, if they just have the spiritual, let's say they just have the heart, that's where you get the nice guy that's so nice that he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know who he is anymore.
And he can be used.
Yeah, he's just trying to make, what do you need? Let me do it for you. Right. I just want to make you happy.
Right.
And it's that.
I don't want your power.
That question, what is it? What do you, if you ask him, what do you like? And he says, well, I like whatever you like.
Ugh.
Yeah.
No.
Have you ever had that one?
Yeah, and I've had the one where they're all about their cock, and that's their thing.
Yeah.
And okay, if I'm feeling horny and let's just go for it for an hour, fine. But if I'm really looking for a partner,
mm-hmm.
and here's the thing, if I'm looking for, and I guess I have a huge message for humanity, but the ones that'll actually work for me are this beautiful few that are willing to find that divine communion within themselves. Like ultimately, they even get that a relationship is not going to complete them.
Yeah.
Like they really want that sense of self that no one can ever take away, where you're just happy for no reason, free to do whatever the fuck you want and be whoever the fuck you are. And it can be this quiet confidence. It doesn't have to be big at all, but there's like home, total home. And then from that place where you're literally in communion with the divine and you're feeling juiciness just because you're here, go out then. And how quick and efficient and clear you can attract an amazing partner because your energy is so pure.
This is a really interesting point because I want to see if you've had this experience. When we take guys out, a lot of guys are like, they're obsessed with approaching women. And sure, if you're just starting out, you might need to approach a few to practice here and there, but do you find when the guys that you're working with start
mm-hmm.
to get into their body,
yeah,
start to take care of themselves, that it's not as much of me going out to find girls to approach, it's just me putting the energy out, they're putting the energy out, and you start to see this girl's glancing at me, this girl's smiling, we're connecting.
Yeah.
But you know what? She wants me to say hi to her. She's almost inviting me over.
Yes.
Or she's bumping into me randomly. Or,
yeah. To me, you become more of this magnetic sort of vortex, and you need to show up.
Yeah.
So you don't need to go out and get her, but you do need to just show up to the party,
exactly.
show up to the game, which can be in the grocery store, on the airplane, at work, wherever it's going to be. Just show up in your fullness without needing anything. And that just in and of itself makes like, ooh, heads turn. Who's that guy? Feels good around him.
This is an interesting point because you know Zan Perionis?
I've interviewed him on my show. He's lovely. That's who you went to visit, right?
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. In his book, he wrote that single women are always broadcasting on a signal. And you can tell when they're single or they're open to meeting somebody because they're broadcasting, they're putting out a vibration.
Yeah.
They're looking.
Yeah.
And the question I have to men, I was just, as you were saying that, I was realizing is, are you broadcasting? Or are you hunting? Are you stalking? Are you broadcasting that I'm open, I'm available, let's have fun, let's dance together and see if we connect? Or are you broadcasting, I just want to pounce?
Right. And to me, it feels like you see me as a piece of meat or as a work of art.
Yeah, it's a good
and
way
I can
to put it.
feel it.
And this comes back to what we talked about earlier off camera also, David Data.
Yeah.
And the third stage man, third stage woman. You said David Data. What did he say to you?
Oh, I shouldn't say this because he won't allow me to. I asked him if he would let me quote him, and he said no.
Oh, okay.
So he said something very nice.
Yes, it was very nice. And so we're not going to say it. It was very, very...
Because I agree that I won't say it.
Yeah.
But it happened.
What do you think about the whole third stage? Because we talk about first stage man, my way or the highway, I'm in charge.
Right.
First stage woman, I'm going to use my sexuality to get what I want. Second stage, half masculine, half feminine, no polarization anymore. We're just best friends hanging out.
Right.
2 kids, a minivan, bored to death. And third stage. And that third stage where the man steps into his power to feel into you so deep.
Yeah.
And using his feminine along with his masculine. He knows what you need almost before you do because he's really in touch with both, but he's choosing his masculine.
Yeah.
The left, right hand.
Yeah.
And the woman's choosing her feminine, even though she has just as much masculine. She chooses being feminine and nurturing, healing. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's accurate? Do you think that's right on? Would you look at it differently?
Well, there was a moment in a workshop from somebody when I was voted the one they want to fuck and the one that they'd spend 20 years on a desert island with because she would awaken their legacy, she would support their purpose. And normally in that situation, women were voted in 1 or 2, but not both categories. And it was
this is where you get on stage and everybody in the audience gets to vote for the woman they would most want to fuck.
Yes.
Be on a desert island with.
For 20 years. Like, who's the long-term relationship and who's the short-term fun, I suppose, or just the sex and the awakening of your, partnership, right?
Yeah.
That kind of a marriage, date, whatever you want to call it. And so it was this exploration in the moment of like, why did I win in both categories? And it was my invitation to start showing up and teaching. Like I had done enough inner work that I could now teach it because it was showing up.
You had all the chakras on.
I did, and so what we discovered is that for the sex is that I'm already having pleasure in here. I'm already making love with the universe. Like I don't need a guy, so I'm not going to do the coy sexual manipulation, nor am I going to say I can open that door myself. Thank you very much. Like I am just like hi, just me. And
you don't need his power, you don't need his money.
No.
Yeah.
And I'm totally receptive to whatever he wants to give me, and I require nothing because I'm having total pleasure in here already.
And that makes him want to give.
Right.
So he probably gives you more than normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that was one aspect of it. And so for the women that I coach, how do you be that?
Yeah.
Right? And so being that just so juicy and fun to be alive, and it's so magnetic to this quality man, and it also dissolves any competition between women, which there's a lot of. So it's really nourishing for the woman. So that's that part. And then the part about the desert island, if there's only one woman, he would, choose you. It was really interesting. A guy in the audience said, if I lose my job, she's not going to emasculate me. And what had happened in my own inner journey is that I had been able to shift anger, emasculation, because I'm not perfect, I've done it before.
Oh, it's not hard.
Into fierce love. I feel like we're in this like little show. I had been able to shift that into fierce love, which is not anger, which is, what are you doing on the couch? Why don't you get out there and get a job? I can't rely on you. Why don't like it's anger.
Yeah.
It's emasculation is not kind. Yeah, maybe you ought to have taken the garbage out and you forgot, but is that really going to empower you? No.
What's that it's more that first stage Kali energy.
Totally. As opposed to, I fucking love you so much. It hurts my heart to see you not out there giving your talents and gifts. Get out there. Like it's fierce, it's intense, but it's like love. And there was something about me just simply standing on the stage that these guys could sense in me. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. That I've cultivated that in me. And the other thing they said about me was that I could be vulnerable. And maybe this is a good entry into that conversation. I could be vulnerable with you and you wouldn't think less of me. So I have, and this is why I didn't know I was so perfectly designed for coaching men, because there's a part of the divine feminine, the queen, when the warrior comes home and they lost the battle, that he put your head on my breast, I'll hold you. And I won't judge you, and I won't make you wrong, and I will soothe you and nourish you back to wholeness. That vulnerability, that willingness to go, I lost, but not to go, I'm a loser.
Yeah.
And an ability for a woman not to judge, because a lot of women that give away their power, like, well, if you don't bring home the bacon, there'll be no bacon, right? No, she's a queen. She's, got her own purpose. She's rocking her own game. So when he says, I lost my job, let's say, comes home, I lost my job, she's not freaking out of how things are going to happen. She's already centered. She's already at one within herself. And so she can be that safe, tender, nurturing sexual energy.
Well, she can fill him with fuel, in a sense. See, when you do that, I'm picturing my body's getting filled with fuel, your healing energy.
Right.
And then the next day, I'm up wide awake, ready to go.
Totally.
Because of the way you just said that,
Yeah.
I would be 6 a.m. ready to go find a new job.
Well, these guys in the audience, like, without me saying a word, knew it.
Yeah.
So all the women watching that think men don't have intuitions or whatever, or instincts, totally not true. Like, they really sensed all of these energies within me that I began to teach. And then fast forward, another great teacher of mine, do you know Dr. Dane here, Access Consciousness?
No, I don't.
He uses, Access uses this word called sexualness. And I'd never found a word for what it is I be and what it is I teach and awaken in people. Because the sexual energy, i.e. when you let the energy go beneath the chin and it's all going through here and you're having just a fun time with the universe, this energy, we think sexual energy is only like, hey baby, sexy, kinky, naughty, erotic, which it is, but it's also the creative energy, because we know it's the same chakra, starting your business, writing your book, starting a new, adventure on the planet, and it's also this tender, healing, nurturing energy. It's the whole thing.
Yep.
And when this gentleman, Dane, said that, I'm like, I know, wow, cool, that's exactly how I say it. And if we can give ourselves permission.
That's exactly how I say it too.
Cool, high five again. If we give ourselves permission to let life force energy, sexual energy through us in all of these flavors, we can be so much for so many, for ourselves, for others. And when you bring that into a relationship, it's divine. It's, as David would say, like third stage.
Yeah.
It's communion. To me, it's communion. Like, I'm not interested, like, I can do life on my own. I don't need a gentleman. Like, I only want a man in my life if he's a contribution by being exactly who he is, and so am I, by being exactly who I am for each other.
And that's what because you had said that earlier, I was going to come back to it, and I almost forgot.
Uh-huh.
It's that whole idea that once you're complete, you don't need another partner. The man doesn't need a woman, the woman doesn't need a man.
Yeah.
But when the partner shows up, it's because they complement and expand you, not because you need them to survive. It's all these love songs that say, I'm going to die without you, I think they're programming society to think that they need somebody else to be happy.
Yeah.
And other people, we do need people to be happy in general. We need a world, but we don't need any one person.
Yeah.
And the person in your life that you're going to love the most, and Carl said this many years ago, was you got to be willing to let him go at any given moment to fully love him.
Yeah, nice.
And otherwise it won't work. Or you got to be willing to have your heart broken wide open at any given moment.
Yeah.
Before you can truly love them.
Yeah. And when you're saying that, it reminds me, like, best friend died at 16. Mom died. I've been through a really difficult court battle with custody, with my son wanting to hurt himself, and social services, like a lot of stuff where I really have gotten to the point where, of course, I don't want my son to die. And if that's his journey, I've savored every moment that I've had with him. And I hated that I looked at my dead mother, but that was one of the most beautiful moments in my life, because in that moment I'm like, okay, you can shut down right now. You can tell them where you can send the organs, you can go into that, or you can just keep your heart open and just be. And the pain was so, like, awful. But because I kept it open, I reached this place that was like that direct experience with God. It was like love. And it was through pain. And then 9 months later, when I gave birth and Gabe was put on my breast and my legs were open and I was birthing the placenta and there were people everywhere, like, you could totally have missed the moment.
Yeah.
Right? But I said, whatever. I stayed, kept my heart open. I was just like, oh, miracle. And it was that same, took just as much courage to keep my heart open to bliss as it did to keep my heart open to pain. Because could I receive that amount of pain? Could I receive that amount of bliss? But when I said yes, it was the same place of love that I felt when my mom died, which really messed me up. And what I got from that is what I've experienced in a couple direct experiences with the oneness of who I am. I can look at someone in pain, and they are just as beautiful as someone in bliss. Like when I'm looking through, I have those few moments of the flashes of whatever it is, enlightenment, before it goes back to whatever I am now. There's no judgment, no matter what. And it just teaches me every path is the path home to God, everything, because you already are God. So the path mom dying, keep your heart open, love. Bliss of Gabe being born, keep it open, love. So everything we're going through, if you'd be willing to stay present, keep your heart open and breathe through, walk through the fire, walk through the darkness, you will come home to you. Source, the divine love, whatever you want to call it.
You have to open in the midst of the pain. David talks about that all the time. Can you open your heart in the midst of the pain?
Yeah.
And that's where you wake up. You'll find the most love, the most passion, the most joy.
Yeah.
I remember breaking up with this girl. It's the worst breakup I ever had. And
this one recently?
No, this was years ago.
Okay.
And the reason it was the worst breakup was I was the most insecure. I had for the first time in my life, gotten a girl that I really wanted to be with, and she wanted to be with me. And the first thought in my head was how long until I blow this. And
you also used the word gotten.
Yeah.
It's more of like a take energy.
That's what I was doing. I was trying to get. At that time, I was just learning about dating, and because up until then I just didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so this girl shows up in my life, and I'm like, oh my god, and I was obsessed over her, and I pushed her away within 2 months. Worst breakup ever. And I remember I had a teacher at the time. I won't mention his name, but he was trying to use NLP to get me to see all the negatives in her, so I want to push her away. And I was like, so I did, she's this, she's that, you won't let her. So I'd let her go.
Oh.
And I just felt all wrong.
Oh.
It was all wrong. And I was like, this just hurts more. It was hurting my heart more.
Oh, dear.
And so I stepped away from that. And I remember laying in my bed, and I was in pain about the breakup. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to remember all the good times.
Yeah. And
I'm going to love her more right now. And let's see if I can really... The more I did that in the moment, and the more I just appreciated everything we had, the better I felt.
Right.
Suddenly, I wasn't in as much pain anymore, even though we were still broken up.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I was just like, wow, those are great memories. I'm going to cherish them.
Right, and whatever happened was a learning experience that I can now transform into wisdom in the present moment from this openness of love, not from this judgment of pushing away.
Yeah, that judgment was harsh, and I knew that was wrong. And matter of fact, it was advice from this person that caused us to break up. Actually,
Interesting.
I took some advice, and I was just learning, and I was like, I don't want that advice.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that ever again.
Yeah.
And because I just like you, I have this thing where it's all about caring about other people. It's all about giving to other people. So that brings me to vulnerability.
Okay.
Your big thing is vulnerability.
I love talking about vulnerability. I think vulnerability is so sexy. I think the most seductive thing about a man is that he's just, here I am. No excuses, no projections, no, excuses for this is why I am the way I am. It's just, here it is. Because he's come to peace, non-judgment with all parts of him. So I could judge him if I wanted to, but it doesn't make a difference. He's like unwavering. It's fucking sexy.
And that's confidence. Yes.
To me.
Yeah, I agree. It's confidence.
It's not accomplishments.
Well, confidence isn't walling off my heart, standing here being stoic and saying I can handle anything.
Right.
It's being completely open, feeling every bit of the emotion, expressing every bit of the emotion, and saying I can handle it.
Yeah.
And that's confidence, which is very different than what I think a lot of viewers think is vulnerability. Because I think a lot of viewers, even me included, way back when, I thought I was being vulnerable and I was pushing girls away. I didn't realize I wasn't being vulnerable. I was being extremely needy. And when I explained to the guys, it's very different. I had a lot of guys that I've explained vulnerability to, and because I went through this experience in the past. But it's where I'm trying to explain the difference between needy and what it is to actually be vulnerable, and they think it's one and the same.
Right.
Can you explain that difference?
But one pushes away, as what happened, what you just mentioned, and one draws in.
Yes.
Okay.
And it pushes away hard too.
Okay. So so let's say vulnerability is when your barriers come down, when the walls come down, when you're exposed, when you're naked. Okay, we'll call that as part of vulnerability.
Yes.
Now, honestly, there's probably very few people on the planet who can be with that and not judge you, because it makes them so nervous that you're so exposed. Okay, so that's part one of vulnerability. Now, when you're doing this walls down, hi, who I am, if there's a part of you in here that you still judge, you still think is not good enough, you still are trying to fix, damn it, get rid of that part, okay?
Yeah.
There's a part of you like that, it's not whole, it's not home, you're not in communion with that part of you. So you're going to be looking outside of you for validation, approval, something or other. And so you're vulnerable, and this needy part of you comes up, and you're like, but I'm, and you become needy, right? However, if before you do all this, or as you do all of this, letting the walls down, you go, yeah, this is who I am, and I love myself. Yeah, I was divorced twice, and I love myself. Yeah, I was bankrupt at a certain time, and I love myself. Like, you might not actually say those words in the conversation, you might, but what you're doing is, I'm okay with all of me. I'm okay with my dark, my light, my kinky, my crazy, my dorky, my bold. I'm okay with all of it. And then talk, connect.
And you're not making them responsible
for anything,
right?
Because you are.
Yeah.
You're the one creating your own happiness. You're the one not judging yourself. And when you're vulnerable like this, and you've got your own back, and there's no requirement over there. There's no sucking energy or neediness over there.
Well, you're gonna fix me.
No, none of that's there, because you're good. You still have work to do. Nobody's perfect, so you're this evolving creature. Here's where I'm really amazing. Here's where I'm a little fucked up. Hi, like that, right? You give them total choice, total spaciousness. There's no pressure. And you give them an invitation to join you in that vulnerability together, in the unknown together, and it's exquisite. Now, if they can't handle it, and they're not willing to be like that themselves, if they're still judging a lot of themselves, they will probably judge these parts of you. And it might sting because you're totally raw, but it's not going to kill you, because nothing can, because you've got your own back. You're already home. You're already approving of yourself. You're already finding safety within yourself. You're good to go. So, okay, so you're not going to date them. They don't get you. They're not going to invite, they're not going to go on that journey
Here's
with
the
you.
interesting thing, and you've probably seen this too, though. When they do judge you, if you stay vulnerable, open, and non-reactive, a lot of times that judgment turns into intrigue on their part. Interest.
It can.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good point. That's the invitation that you be when you don't react to whatever they just said.
Yeah.
One of my main lessons in this is going through all of these custody battles. My ex is very unkind. He's just unkind. Like not a judgment, just a fact of how he bees. And when I resist it, it sticks. And then I start to think, well, maybe I am that bad. And when I make him wrong for it, I'm just playing the same judgment game. We're not going to get anywhere. So the scariest thing to do is when you're being cross-examined in court, being called an idiot among, that's a nice way to say it, right? And you put your barriers down, and you widen as wide as the universe, and you love every single part of you, and there's nothing to stick. There's nothing. I'm not going to fight back. I'm just going to calmly say, no, that's incorrect. What's your next question?
Yeah.
Right? So that's like in that situation. But if you're in an argument with your lover and the dukes are up, put them down. Put them down. Open your heart. Your heart is not breakable. Right? They might be like woundable, or maybe they shatter when a breakup or something, but you can put them back together in this beautiful stained glass window.
I think they get stronger, better, like you said.
Totally.
Like this stained glass window just becomes this beautiful work of art.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like a bone, if you break it, when it fuses back, the bone's actually stronger.
Yeah.
Just like our heart is. So yeah, open it all the way when you're having a fight. Like, just instead of going for the jugular, put down the walls and just be real.
I think this is true everywhere in life. Have you seen, there's a great TED Talk by Kelly McGonigal, the talk on stress. Have you seen that talk?
No.
It's a newer one. And she talks about how they did a 8-year study of 30,000 people. And they asked them, do you have high stress, low stress, or medium stress? Well, basically low stress, medium stress, high stress. And then they asked them, do you think stress is bad for you or good for you? So they said 2 categories stood out over the 8 years. The one that said, I have high stress and stress is bad for me. Like the most deaths, most illnesses, most problems, most of their life fell apart.
Yeah.
The one that said the group that said I have high stress and stress is good for you had the most successes, most gains, most health, least amount of deaths and illnesses.
Yeah, comfort with discomfort. We've talked about that before.
So she said she came to the realization as a health psychologist that the belief in stress is more dangerous, that it's bad for you than
the stress itself. Yeah, or the belief in fear is worse than the fear itself, or walking through the fire.
I think successful people love fear. They love the unknown. They love stress. They love taking risks, and that's why their lives grow day in and day out. And the average person, as David Nagel, one of my mentors, would say, is the person middle class. The average person is chasing comfort and security over everything, so they're trying to get rid of as much stress as possible, i.e. keeping their life small. Your life, you cannot grow without that stress.
Yeah.
And,
it's very uncomfortable at times, and you're like, really? I can really handle this? Like, you're never given anything you can't handle. I question that a lot sometimes from the universe. But as you lean in, as you discover more of who you are, as you do those 10 more push-ups, as you put your wall down to your lover, like these moments, you discover you're way more than you thought you were. It's so humbling to know how grand we really are, and to see that in yourself and know that in yourself, to raise it in my son, to see it in my clients, see it in a lover, and just that's to me the juice of life. That's why part of why I call myself an intimacy expert and I've created my life like this is I get to connect on this level all day long, every day, with my clients, with my friends, with my colleagues. Like, this is the juicy conversation I want to be having. I like sports, but I don't really want to talk about sports all day. I'll go to a hockey game with you, but I don't want to say all day long about that. I want to talk about this.
I don't even watch sports. I like doing stuff. Like, he loves to jump out of planes. I enjoy that on occasion. I like taking a surf class. I like all that stuff. But if you ask me to go to a football game or a baseball game, not interested.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be going out and experiencing people.
Yeah.
And connecting with people. And you said, why do you love Bucharest? So I don't know if you asked me. Somebody asked me recently, why do you like Bucharest so much? I've been there twice this year. We'll be back a third time. They have a huge cafe culture, and people sit all day, put down their cell phones and talk.
Love that.
They connect.
The next home that I'm creating in my life has all these little nooks and crannies all over it, to have a little coffee here, a little conversation there, a little coaching session there, do a little video there. Like, that totally turns me on. I get it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And to me, that's what life's about. I think there's two types of tension in the world, and the one men typically love is the tension that steps into the physical tension. Military would be an example of physical tension, lifting weights, running into a burning building and saving somebody on the extreme level as a fireman. And then there's the emotional tension.
Yeah.
And that's the land of the feminine. And stepping into emotional tension is huge.
And even spiritual tension, to be a warrior of the light and to stay open, that you're in communion with the divine if you open and choose it. But it's there 24/7. But sometimes we forget, and opening again to that faith, to that blind faith, that there is a presence that runs this whole universe, this unified field that is responding millions of times a second to us. And it cares. And whatever vibration we put out, we'll get back. Like, to me, that's a warrior of the light.
So I have a question for you, because I explain things on two levels. I explain things to clients from a science-based quantum physics level, because some of them that's the way they are, or science-based level, so they understand the chemistry of what's going on.
Yeah.
Then I explain things on a spiritual level to ones who are more open to that. So I can talk the language of the client. And I've seen you talk a little bit of both here and there. I'm curious what your perspective is, because I don't hear you coming from a religion per se. I hear you coming from a purely spiritual perspective.
Yeah. I'm hoping I'm coming beyond any label at all.
Yeah.
That I'm just willing to be, like, I can so, if you take me to a church, I can so talk about God that's a dude in the sky. I don't have a point of view about it. Whatever they require, so that there's a portal in so that they can expand, I don't care. So I'm willing, like, I have some clients that are very religious. And whenever I coach them, I switch my language around to, it's a him, it's a God, it's a Holy Spirit. Like, I do that because it's an honoring of them. It's not a judgment of them. That's how they work. That's how they tick. They speak French. I'm going to speak French to them. I'm going to do whatever's required so I can be a contribution however they are. And by choosing to let go of my identity, let go of who I think Allana is, let go of what I think I know, and be this humble student while also being a channel for the pure divine to come through, I hope that I can just dance with everybody. Like, I can talk to kids and totally connect with them, or like an old person, and I can just sort of change.
The part I like the best is that it doesn't matter which language you speak, it's still the same message. And
Totally.
that's what people are arguing over the message, and I'm like, it's the same message from any angle.
Yeah.
It's like the old metaphor: take a bunch of kids and blindfold them and let them touch that elephant. You know, one touches the trunk, one touches the tail. It describes something different, but it's still the elephant.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah.
And it's still And so I could talk quantum physics. We could talk chemistry in the body. It's as the chakra rather than chakra as what's chemistry happening here? What chemistry is happening here?
Yeah.
And it's all the same.
And it turns me on when I see the thread. Like, I'm an art history major, that's what I studied, but I didn't go deep into one. I took like every art there was from every culture and every time, because I wanted to find the thread that was through them all. And that's how I see spirituality as well. Yeah. Like, even spirituality is kind of getting a label to it. I don't even want to be called that. I just like, what would love do now? How can I be a contribution now? How can I sit in the fire and not shrink back now? Like, that's sort of like my daily practice. And I try to be into sports because my son likes baseball so much, and I try to remember the players and what team they're on, and I do my best. But for me, like, I love dancing because that's how I so easily get out of my head. And I just say, take me over. Just take me over, music. Take me over, divine. And just let my body do what my body needs to do to embody all of me. And knowing that I'm an ever-evolving creature, and if I had a really shitty day, there might be some release that needs to happen. Or if I'm getting a little timid about something new, I need to go, okay, I can sit in that fire. It's not like every day I sit in the fire and I'm like, no, I get scared. I go, okay, a couple tequilas, let me just check out. Like, I'm not perfect at all. And yet, I get back up. I always get back up.
So here's the thing I've been hearing, because David Data talks about this, you're kind of talking about it, and there's this pain. We've got to open in the midst of the pain. We've got to open in the midst of the pain. So I can see somebody sitting out there right now going, well, is it ever fun?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Lots of lots of fun.
Yeah.
For me, initially, I guess it wasn't so fun when I really started to do the inner work to meet all my demons. Maybe that part, honestly, it wasn't very fun for a while, because I had to become really clear that, oh my God, I've been so insecure. I've even been cruel or mean at some points. I've been so not present that somebody took it like I didn't care. Like, I didn't even have the capacity to care because I was so fucked up on the inside. So, like, there's a lot of coming to terms with things. But when you come to the bottom, when you come home and you forgive yourself and you love all the quirky parts of yourself and you finally rest, and there's no more trying at all. The trying's gone. The wanting's gone. The seeking's gone. You're just clunk here. Those moments, which aren't 24/7 for me, but when they happen, it's like the biggest bliss, the most quiet, orgasmic, tender. It could be any flavor, but it's just like, I'm so grateful to be alive. I get to be alive. Oh my God, thank you so much. Like, these waves of gratitude that are just like tears, and I don't care. I just let myself have them. If it's where, oh, mom's crying again. Yeah, she is. But I'm going to let it touch me. Oh, mom, don't be such a dork. I know what, like, when we were little, it was totally fine. We could dress up in our costumes and go to the fair in October. We didn't have to wait till it was Halloween for costumes. Like, we didn't care, but now he's 12 and he cares. We're not supposed to do that anymore.
Can't be weird. Can't be seen being weird.
Can't be too weird, Mom.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a freedom. It's a freedom to have fun where normally you'd shrink. It's a freedom to, like, go that one step further into the unknown and experience, oh my God, bliss, creativity that I didn't know was there. It's even like a strength. There's fun in knowing that come what may,
well,
I can handle it.
I love getting more capacity. I think this is what I'm addicted to, really, is it's creating more capacity to be vulnerable in front of people I don't know. To be strange. You know, we talked about vulnerability earlier, but like this whole idea of how much when I walk out the door am I trying to be a certain type of person for everybody around me? Or how much am I truly down to the littlest thing, truly being who I want to be in the moment? Mm-hmm. And notice how much we're worried about what others think of us. Why we got to have the hair just perfect. We got to have this just perfect. I can't let somebody see me like this. I can't do this. I can't walk this way. I can't have it. You know, and when you surrender all of that, how much more people really enjoy you. How much more fun you are to be I'm not saying I surrendered all that.
Well, I really wanted to wear this necklace and this outfit because it makes me feel really pretty, but I'm not doing it so that you think I'm good enough or that I look good enough. Like, I want to look good because I like looking good because I like to be pretty and stuff, but I'm doing it for the joy of, like, beauty. The joy
of
expression. Like, this is why I want to paint this picture, because it's so joyful to paint the picture. This is why I want to decorate the house, because it's so joyful to have you over and commune with you in my beautiful sanctuary. Like, you still get to do all the things you're doing them. The motivation isn't from fear, it's from the inspiration of expansion and joy and love.
Yeah.
Right?
We're here to expand every day a little bit more.
And it gives everybody freedom to be with you.
We're not looking for meaning, we're looking to feel fully alive. And that's
And
what I believe.
experience. And not even experience kumbaya, bunny rabbits, and joy every day. Like, I even think that's bullshit. Like, oh my God, there is something so exquisite about going through something really hard and staying connected to yourself.
And the gifts you get from it.
Yeah. So it's not about even, I don't even know if to me anyways, it's about experiencing it all.
Everything,
and can we keep our heart open in all of it and love ourselves and stay connected to ourselves? Yeah. So at the end of the day, you know you did your best.
Yeah.
No matter what the outcome was.
And we had talked about before you came out, speaking about the beautiful necklace, because I did comment on it when you came out. You said you had a story behind this necklace.
Okay, that's nice.
I'm very curious about the story.
So
she didn't tell me earlier. So
first divorce, gonna go to Morocco to get over my divorce. Call my good drinking buddy from the UK. Come with me. I need a guy because it's like a Muslim country. I feel better if I have a guy. And we were going from Marrakesh to Fez, and I let him be the guy. He could always check us into the hotel. He could like organize, and I would just be so grateful. So we had a little bit of this fun polarity going on. And he messed up the tickets to go to Fez. He got it a whole day wrong. And we were at the airport, and you just should have seen him. His whole body went like this. He was ready for the attack. He was ready for what a lot of us women do when our men make a mistake. How can you do that? And I just went, oh, it's okay. Maybe we're meant to stay another day. And then I turned around and I go, welcome to Morocco. And I was like, fine. And we went, he was just like, you didn't make me wrong. And we had gone shopping earlier for jewelry, but when I found out this was a real silver necklace, not like a $5 ones that I was buying all the takeout, I said, oh, I can't afford that, no thanks. But he heard me. And after that experience happened, where I didn't make him wrong, that I showed him it's okay to be human, and I love you all the same, he went back and he got me this necklace. And then we were in Casablanca ready to fly home, and I was going to go work out and then go back to the room, and he's like, go back to the room, there's something up there. And there was this necklace on the bed, and it's like, thank you for loving all of me. And it was so beautiful.
And I find that men really do want to be giving. And when you do stuff like that, God, men are just...
Right?
Yeah.
And all I did was just love him in the face of making a mistake. And could I have done that had I not done my own inner work, where I forgave myself for making a whole pile of mistakes? No. So once you do it for yourself, you're a gift to everybody.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is an awesome story. I'm glad you saved it. She wouldn't tell me until we were on camera. So I want to thank you. It's been an amazing interview. Actually, a very easy interview. There's just so much. I could probably talk to you for another hour about stuff.
I know. We'll do part 2 and part 3 another time.
Yeah. Just to turn out a whole bunch of them. We'll do the Allana series. How's that?
That's awesome.
The Allana Banana series.
Thank you.
And I had a wonderful time.
Oh, so. Thank you. It's been an honor to have you here.
Is there anything else you would love to say to the camera? Do you want to tell them about your website?
I'd love you to come play with me. Which camera am I looking at? That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one primarily.
Hi. So my website is allanapratt.com, ALLANAPRATT.com. I've got a great radio show, juicy newsletter. Just come and play in my world. Guys, I have an amazing report, gethertosayyes.com. It's a free report and video series I think you'll really, really love. And ladies, get on my radio show. Let's chat, because it's live, and I can answer any of your questions. You can be part of the delicious fun. So yeah, if any of my message resonates with you, I'd love to go deep, go all the way, and take you home, and begin a whole new reality of deliciousness in your life. And
her radio show is an awesome. I was on it once, I had a blast, so I highly recommend it. So, thank you, Allana.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll see you in part 2 or 3 or whichever part's next.
I love it. I love it.
First key or step, or whatever you want to call it, is getting in touch with what you want. Do you know what you want? A lot of people today can't talk about what they want. They have a really hard time. They can tell me what they don't want. I get clients all the time that come in and anything else, more than anything else, which is comfort. Comfort and security. When you learn to value comfort and security, when you chase comfort over anything else, think of how hard it is to step out and go for your dreams. Your dreams are always going to require you to